giving you guys the top prop bets in NBA today. We got a 2-game slate in the playoffs, Warriors versus Kings and Nets versus Sixers. Let's get into it. All right, so looking at the NBA board for today, it is one in which I do think we are going to be able to attack it slightly. It's not going to be as good as really the weekend boards that we are getting. And for the most part, I just feel like Brooklyn versus Philly is going to be a difficult matchup to predict, whereas Golden State versus the Kings, we know kind of the expectations for that game. Like looking at 240 over and under, right? That's kind of the game that we want to be attacking, and it's a game that's projected to stay close. Now, I do feel like Brooklyn is going to keep it close as well, but we can see very low scoring game, which does make it more difficult to bet on props. I would say just in general, when a game's tight, to me, it is more difficult because PrizePicks will typically bump numbers up. And so in theory, it'd actually probably be the under that we would want to chase there for those games. But let's just look at my favorite ones for that game. So to me, I do really like kind of Nick Claxton over fantasy points. Now, he didn't get in the last game against Philly, but I do want to point out that he did have a pretty good game as a whole. I mean, 3 blocks is a lot, obviously. Only had 5 points. You know, typically speaking, average is 12.5. Now, yes, you could say that's going against Joel Embiid. Sure. But that game was also a blowout. It didn't get the extended run that we're kind of hoping for. We can't really predict blowouts when they're going to happen. Sure, I would say Vegas obviously correct majority of the time. But really, it's just when does the blowout occur? Does it occur in the last 2 minutes? Do players get their final rotation? And obviously, if he gets his final rotation, I shouldn't say obviously, but I would say he would be able to get the over there. I was encouraged by the game that he had. Just the points weren't there. So you'd expect him to have a little bit better day scoring the basket. So thus, I do like the fantasy score, but we can see how this is a lot tighter than, let's say, the Jaren Jackson Jr. prop from last night. And that's not exactly a game that I really want to be targeting too much. And with that, it's kind of interesting because we could kind of see maybe betting the unders, just given how this game is projected to play. Very low scoring game. And if it's a game that's a blowout, then it's tough to see these players getting over. Spencer Dinwiddie has been terrible shooting the basketball lately. I mean, 1 for 5, 0 for 6, 0 for 4. He hasn't really had a good night shooting the 3 ball in quite a while. And maybe that is better. He had 4 turnovers in the last game as well. You know, he needs to have a better game for them to stay close. So if you're thinking that Brooklyn does maybe win this game or keep it close, then you would want to bet Spencer Dinwiddie over. But let's go ahead and get into another prop from this game that I kind of like. At the same time, it doesn't feel like a lock and load. So I really don't love this prop too much, but one of the better bets on paper that we're getting today would be Tobias Harris under 5.5 rebounds. Now he's projected to get 6.18. So, you know, obviously it's tight there. Not exactly the line that we want to be chasing. If we just look at this, you know, if the minutes aren't there, if the game is a blowout, then it's going to be tough to imagine him getting there as well. Let's go ahead and pull this up on the direct PrizePicks cheat sheet. And yeah, we'll see the under has about a 53.4% chance to hit. So an okay prop. So let's just say we were trying to kind of attack that the Kings versus Warriors game, which I do think is the correct decision. Then I kind of think we do a target like Curry over 3s and also Clay over 3s as well, which they have an extremely high number. That does worry me. 4.5 is a lot, but to me, what's encouraging is just the volume of 3-ball attempts that we have seen from them. Sure, they could have a cold night shooting and not get there. That's definitely an option, but Curry has been getting out there and chucking. It really just depends on, is he shooting the basketball well or not from 3-ball range, as to whether he gets there or not. And we can see that. Literally, nights where he's cold shooting the 3-ball, he just doesn't shoot that much of a volume of them. And when he is shooting the basketball well, then he just goes out there and chucks. On the flip side, we also have Clay over 3s, who he is just chucking a bunch of 3-balls as well. He has been able to get the over there, but at the same time, eventually this is going to break, right? Eventually he's not going to get over 4. It's just due to have a poor night shooting. But given the nature of this game where it is projected to be a higher scoring game, I do kind of like that. Obviously, the issue with these two props is, you know, it doesn't really correlate too well together. And if we are using these two together, then we have to find a way to maybe try to game stack that game. And looking at like his game log, Clay is getting out there and like shooting about 10 3-ball attempts per game. It is crazy, especially if he's going to get heavy minutes as well. Like he should be able to get over there. The issue that I have with that is that there isn't exactly a prop that I like pairing with it. Like, sure, we could go De'Aaron Fox over fantasy score. Feels a little bit too tight for me. I guess you could do Clay over fantasy score as well in this high scoring game. If that continues, and also Jordan Poole is currently questionable, that would help him out as well. You know, we could do over fantasy score for Clay as well. And we do see his game log. He is getting involved other ways. You know, let's just say he does make 4.5 threes. Let's just say around 13 to 14 points, 4.5 threes. Maybe adds in a couple of free throws or, you know, a couple 2-pointers. That's great. Then we don't need much from him assist wise. You know, if he gets, say, 2, that's 3 more points. Maybe gets a steal. You know, it's not terrible. At the same time, it does feel a little bit too tight. And then for what it's worth, the best prop that we are getting on the board today on paper is actually Malik Monk over fantasy score. And how we're able to determine that is scrolling down here, looking at his fantasy score prop. And this is on the 9-to-5 cheat sheet, available for $10 a month for 9-to-5 site members. Looking at it, -141 on average across the sportsbooks are the odds that they're given for his over fantasy score. If we just take points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, and take those and combine them together, the average would be -141. So it's a pretty good number that we're getting there. And that'd be at 26 for the average sportsbook line. Now, yes, he is slightly projected to get under that, but he has just been finding ways to be able to get the over there. And we can see, you know, minutes, we're probably expecting around 25. Now, it does seem like he got a little bit extra run because he was just shooting the basketball extremely well. But if he does continue to get this like additional run that he's been getting, that is encouraging. And if you look at it, he has been kind of going off lately as well, fantasy score wise. So on paper, that's the best prop that we're getting. Now, if you agree or disagree, that's fine. Like, I get it, but I'm trying to find ways to stack that game, and I think that would be it. So I don't want to exactly give out a bet of the day, but I'm just going to kind of show you guys my logic behind the bet. And there's a funny comment yesterday, like someone was saying, oh, these YouTubers giving out these 5-6 slip bets never hit. I'm like, well, okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you guys the best props for the day and let you guys be able to decide to do with that. I think a majority of people know that by watching these videos. At the same time, it's true, but it's not. Like, percentage wise, you got to think about it. If we're doing a 6-leg bet, if you're hitting it like 10% of the time, you're up, you know? So yeah, 90% of the time, if you're missing and only hitting 10% of the time, you are up on those. So it's just funny how that works, kind of the thought process some people have. But no, my goal, and if you guys want to use those, that's fine. And this is kind of what today is. It's more or less, all right, let's see if we can figure out this game and try to stack it. Whereas most days, I'm trying to give you guys the information to be able to make the best props you can possible. Like, I wish I could give more to the stack. It's just, I feel like Sabonis's props are maybe honestly a little bit too high, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprising to see him like really explode and crushes over. Fox's number seems correct. I could see Looney getting over like fantasy score as well, but everything seems pretty tight to me. These are the best props that we were getting on the day, but it's a typical Monday board. Like, I don't love attacking Monday slates. But that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cash.